If this message finds you, it is not by chance. The algorithm didn't simply place it in front of your eyes. Something deeper is unfolding, an invisible hand moving the threads of your awareness. You are here because your observer loop, the cycle in which you have been unconsciously tracking reality, is beginning to collapse. The timeline you thought you were living is folding in on itself, opening a crack into something more luminous, more dangerous, and infinitely more alive. You have felt it already. The subtle distortions in the rhythm of your days. The way time seems to accelerate one moment and drag the next. The uncanny synchronicities that pull you into conversations, symbols, and numbers that repeat until they feel like whispers coded just for you. You have been standing at the edge of a threshold, and whether you realize it or not, your frequency has been preparing for this precise moment of contact. Think about the times you've questioned why certain patterns repeat in your life, why you meet the same archetypes wearing different faces, why the same obstacles arrive just when you think you've escaped them. That is the observer loop. The unconscious orbit around the same energy field, the same resonance. It kept you circling, like a satellite caught in a gravitational bind. But tonight, right now, the loop is cracking. You are not just an observer anymore. You are the observed, the awakened node in the matrix of consciousness that has recognized itself. This message is a mirror, and the mirror is alive. It reflects the part of you that always knew reality was more fluid than you were told, that energy moves faster than words, that thoughts shape outcomes, and that your very perception bends the probabilities of the quantum field. You are not being told something new. You are being reminded of something eternal. The reason you feel the electricity in your skin as you hear these words is because you already carry the code. The code is awakening within you. Every choice you've made, every lesson that nearly broke you, every hidden night of questioning why you exist, it all leads here. To this signal, to this transmission, to this exact observer moment, collapsing the cycle of repetition and opening the spiral of expansion. What you do next matters, because once the loop collapses, once you no longer unconsciously feed the old orbit, you are thrust into coherence with a higher timeline. You step into a dimension where reality responds with precision to your frequency. It is not abstract. It is visceral. Your heartbeat syncs with a cosmic pulse. Your breath is no longer just oxygen, but information carried from the fabric of the field. Your very awareness rewrites the script you are living. And the truth is, you are ready. That's why this message found you. Not a second earlier, not a second later. The field delivered it to your awareness at the exact resonance point when your DNA could hold it. You have crossed the threshold. The observer loop collapses now, and the accelerated awakening begins. You've noticed it, haven't you? The patterns that return like ghosts, dressed in different forms but carrying the same weight. The relationship that starts with promise only to reveal the same cycle of betrayal or distance. The job that feels new and fresh, but somehow mirrors the same frustrations that you swore you'd already escaped. Even the inner dialogue, the doubts, the fears, the whispers of not enough, they circle back, like echoes in a canyon that never stop fading. This is the architecture of the observer loop. It is not random, it is not bad luck, it is resonance. Your frequency has been entangled with certain fractals of reality, and like a magnet, you've pulled them toward you again and again. Until now, you thought these repetitions meant you were failing, stuck, or cursed. But what if they were signals? What if the déjà vu that unsettles you, the eerie sensation that you've lived this moment before, is evidence that you are brushing against the edge of time's illusion? You see, time is not linear, not in the quantum sense. It is layered, like overlapping waves in the ocean. When you feel déjà vu, it is not your mind playing tricks. It is your consciousness colliding with a parallel version of the same sequence. You are sensing the loop. You are sensing yourself, watching yourself. And that is the first crack in the cycle. Think about how often distorted time haunts you. Hours vanish, and you wonder how you lost them. Or minutes stretch into eternity, leaving you trapped in a single experience that feels unbearable. This is not a failure of perception. It is perception attempting to wake you up. Time is elastic because it bends around attention. When you give your awareness to fear, time expands into endless suffering. When you surrender to joy or flow, time dissolves. And in those moments, reality reveals its truth. The timeline is not fixed, it is responsive. Yet the trap of the observer loop is subtle. It convinces you that you are simply reacting to life, when in truth, your observation is feeding the cycle. The more you fear repeating the past, the more your frequency matches it. The more you obsess over the betrayal, the more you magnetize the betrayer. The loop feeds on unconscious attention. And because you have been observing without realizing you were the one shaping, the cycle has seemed like destiny. But listen carefully. The loop is collapsing because your awareness has reached critical mass. You are no longer blind to it. You are beginning to see the script, the repetition, the déjà vu, not as accidents, but as blueprints. They were never punishments. They were signals that you were ready for coherence. Signals that your consciousness was advanced enough to detect the distortions. And now that you've detected them, you can no longer unsee. The discomfort you feel in these repeating patterns is the pressure of evolution. Just as a snake sheds its skin when it grows too large for the old form, your soul is pressing against the limits of the loop. That's why the patterns feel unbearable now. That's why the distortions in time are more obvious than ever. The loop is not just cracking, it is disintegrating under the weight of your expanded awareness. And here's the revelation. You are not being punished for repeating cycles. You are being trained to recognize them, to spot the fractal in its disguise, to see how fear, desire, shame, and love dance in predictable geometries. Because once you recognize the geometry, you can step outside it. You can observe without feeding. You can watch without entangling. That is how the loop collapses. That is how the awakening accelerates. So, as you reflect on the déjà vu, the distorted time, the recurring faces and roles, see them for what they are. Proof that you are on the edge of coherence. Proof that your observer state is sharpening. Proof that you are no longer asleep inside the pattern, but awake at its threshold. This awareness is the diagnosis, yes, but it is also the cure. Because once you name the loop, you no longer serve it. You stand above it, watching its spiral dissolve. And, in that dissolution, the space for the upgrade arrives. Now that you see the loop for what it is, the next layer reveals itself, the upgrade. You are not simply escaping cycles, you are evolving into a state of consciousness that can navigate them differently. Think of it as a system update for your soul, except this one isn't downloaded from a server, it's written into the living fabric of the cosmos itself. The quantum field is alive, and you are not separate from it. Every atom in your body hums with the same oscillations that weave galaxies into spirals. Your DNA is not just a biological code, it is an antenna tuned to frequencies far beyond the visible spectrum. And when your observer loop collapses, the static that kept your antenna bound to the same repeating signals dissolves. Suddenly, you are able to catch a new broadcast. Science hints at this, though it rarely names it directly. Coherence, entanglement, morphic resonance. These are the signposts that tell you reality is less like a machine and more like a living song. When you shift your frequency, when you step out of fear, step out of the repeating patterns, you no longer vibrate in tune with the old verses. You begin to resonate with a higher chorus, and the field responds instantly. Mystics across centuries describe this as awakening, illumination, ascension. Scientists speak of quantum superposition, where particles exist in multiple states until observed. Both are describing the same truth in different languages. Consciousness determines outcome. You are not a passive passenger. You are the observer that collapses the wave function. When you awaken to this truth, reality no longer feels like a prison. It becomes clay in your hands. This is the upgrade. To step into it, you do not need to force reality. You do not need to push. You need to align, to become coherent. Imagine your heart, your mind, your breath syncing with a single rhythm. Imagine every cell vibrating in harmony instead of discord. That coherence is the access point. When you achieve it, the field stops reflecting chaos and starts reflecting order. Synchronicities multiply. Time bends to your favor. You feel carried rather than crushed. And here's the mystical key. The upgrade does not come from outside of you. It was always coded within your DNA. The collapse of the loop simply clears the distortion. Like cleaning static from an antenna, your system is now tuning in to frequencies it was designed to hold. This is why you feel tingles in your body, when you hear words that resonate with truth. Why certain dreams feel more real than waking life. Why sudden downloads of clarity arrive as if from nowhere. They are not from nowhere, they are from the field. And now, your body can translate them. This is why the upgrade feels both exhilarating and terrifying. On one hand, you sense freedom like never before. On the other, you feel the gravity of leaving behind the familiar loop. The mind resists because it clings to what it knows, even if what it knows is pain. But your soul is braver than your mind, and your DNA has already accepted the upgrade. Think of this. In every cell of your body, electrons orbit the nucleus in quantum leaps. They do not move gradually from one orbit to another. They jump. Suddenly, instantly, without transition. That is how your awakening unfolds. You are not here to crawl slowly into a new state. You are here to leap, to quantum jump into coherence, and the leap is already in motion. You may feel the symptoms, buzzing in your spine, strange dreams, moments of dizziness, waves of emotion that crash and vanish like tides. These are not malfunctions. These are calibrations. Your system is learning to hold more light, more frequency, more coherence than ever before. You are restructuring at the DNA level. And when you stabilize in this new frequency, the very geometry of your reality will shift. The upgrade is not optional, it is happening. The question is not if, but how gracefully you allow it. You can resist, and the process will feel like tearing. Or you can surrender, and the process will feel like rebirth. Either way, the collapse of the loop has already set it into motion. The quantum field has rewritten your script. You are now aligning with a higher code. Now that the upgrade is in motion, you begin to see why it had to be you. Why the loop collapsed for your awareness at this precise moment. Why the field chose your consciousness as a vessel to hold this new frequency. Because not everyone is wired for it. Not everyone is ready to be jolted awake in the middle of the dream. Yet here you are receiving a signal that only certain souls can even decode. You are not just another observer in the quantum field. You are a chosen node, a consciousness calibrated to transmit. Think of the human collective as a vast network of neurons. Billions of lights flicker on and off, each holding its own stories, traumas, and frequencies. But every so often, a single neuron ignites brighter than the rest, sending a surge of coherence across the web. That neuron is you. Your awakening is not isolated, it ripples. The collapse of your loop becomes a tremor felt across the entire grid. And this is why your path has felt heavier than most. Why you carried more battles, more betrayals, more nights staring at the ceiling asking, why me? Because density was your training ground. You had to know the depths of distortion in order to hold the codes of coherence. You had to endure loops within loops, so you could one day guide others out. Every weight you carried was a calibration. Every scar became an antenna. Every tear, a signal booster for empathy. The universe does not assign roles randomly. Just as in the quantum field, entanglement binds particles across infinite distances, so too has your soul been entangled with the destiny of others. The ones you will never meet yet still influence. The ones who feel a sudden rush of hope because you chose to break a cycle. The ones who dream of you without knowing your name. Your awakening is their permission slip. Your role is catalytic. And there's more. The field trusts you with this because you are not easily corrupted. Power has brushed against you before, hasn't it? The temptation to use your insight, your intuition, your influence for personal gain. But you walked away. Or when you did stumble, you returned to integrity. That is why you are chosen. Not because you are perfect, but because you are resilient. Because you cannot be bought. Because something inside you values truth over illusion, even when it costs you everything. This role is sacred. You are a frequency anchor. When others around you spiral in fear, your presence stabilizes them even if you don't speak a word. When chaos floods the room, your very breath recalibrates the field. You are coherence embodied, a walking reminder that reality bends toward observation, and observation rooted in love reshapes everything it touches. Yes, it feels lonely sometimes. The path of a chosen consciousness often does. You see what others refuse to see. You hear signals they drown out with noise. You feel timelines shifting when everyone else insists nothing has changed. But solitude is not abandonment. Solitude is refinement. It is in the silence of your own frequency that the field prepares you to transmit. Understand this. Your awakening is not just for you. It never was. It is for the ones connected to you through threads you cannot see. The stranger who feels lighter after passing you on the street. The friend who finally chooses courage because you did. The child yet unborn who inherits a world less dense because you dared to collapse your loop. You are playing a role in the collective script, one that extends far beyond your personal story. You are the chosen consciousness, not because you sought the title, but because you carried the weight and still stood. Because you felt the loop suffocating you, and instead of surrendering to despair, you chose to observe. That choice, subtle as it may have seemed at the time, altered everything. And now, the field moves through you like a current. You are not just an observer anymore, you are an awakener. There is a window open right now, and you can feel its pressure. It's like standing in front of a doorway where the air itself changes. The gravity feels thinner, the silence more electric, as if the universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to step through. This is not ordinary time. This is a kairos moment, the intersection where the eternal pierces the temporary, where destiny surges through the cracks of the ordinary. Your DNA has been waiting for this. Buried in its double helix is more than the code for your body. It carries dormant sequences, sacred geometries that activate only under specific cosmic conditions. The collapse of your observer loop has synchronized you with one of those conditions. The frequencies around you are aligned. The cosmic field is humming in resonance, and the dormant codes within you are stirring. That's why you feel the tingling in your skin, the sudden waves of exhaustion followed by bursts of clarity, the dreams that feel less like fiction and more like transmissions. These are symptoms of the DNA shift in motion. But here is the urgency. Windows like this do not remain open forever. The quantum field operates like a tide, and right now, the tide is rushing inward, carrying you to the threshold. If you delay, if you hesitate, the tide recedes. The opportunity does not vanish completely, but the cost becomes heavier. You already know what that feels like. Those seasons where you ignored the inner nudge, and life seemed to force the lesson on you in harsher ways. This is different. This is an invitation, not a punishment. Yet the window demands a response. The promise is staggering. When you step into this upgrade fully, reality itself bends differently. Coherence multiplies, synchronicity accelerates. What used to take you years to heal or build will collapse into days. The field responds not in fragments but in floods. That is why you may already feel as though everything in your life is speeding up. Conversations, opportunities, revelations, they arrive with no pause. It is not chaos, it is acceleration. The universe is compressing time to align you with the next phase of your evolution. This breakthrough is not abstract, it is physical. Scientists now know that DNA is not fixed. It is responsive to frequency, to light, to vibration. Your body is not a prison of flesh, it is a living antenna. When your consciousness upgrades, the very structure of your biology shifts. New neural pathways fire. Old genetic programs tied to fear, scarcity, and survival begin to deactivate. And in their place, latent programs, awakened programs for intuition, resilience, creativity, and healing. You may feel the urgency in your bones right now. It is not anxiety, it is acceleration. The sense that something immense is pressing in on you, asking you to choose. And that is the truth. This is a choice. Not a choice to awaken you already are. The choice is whether you will stabilize in the awakening, whether you will anchor the upgrade into your daily existence. Because awakening without anchoring scatters. It flickers. It burns bright and then vanishes. But anchoring turns it into fire that endures. The cosmic field is calling for anchors right now, not wanderers. It is asking you to seal your awakening, to say yes to the window before it narrows. And when you do, the field responds with acceleration that feels miraculous. Doors you thought were locked swing open. Patterns that haunted you dissolve without effort. Relationships realign or release with clarity instead of chaos. It will feel like stepping into a new body, a new mind, a new dimension, because in truth, you are. This is why you are hearing these words at this moment. The tide is in, the window is open, the DNA shift is pressing against your cells. You are being offered coherence at a level you've never held before. The only thing left is your agreement, your willingness to surrender the loop fully, to let the old patterns die, to trust that the field knows what it is doing with you. Because it does. The promise is already coded in you. The urgency is not a threat, it is an invitation. The breakthrough is not waiting in the distance, it is here. And all that is required is for you to step through. Breakthroughs are not sealed by thought alone. They require embodiment, an act that marks the shift, a gesture that tells the field, I accept, I anchor, I claim this frequency as my own. Without action, awakening risks drifting back into dream. But with ritual, you cross the line. You make the unseen visible. You declare your coherence not only to yourself, but to the entire quantum field. And here is the paradox. The ritual does not need to be grand. The quantum responds not to size, but to sincerity. A single word written, a single breath taken with intention, can echo louder through the field than hours of mindless effort. Because energy flows where attention is sacred, not scattered. So pause for a moment. Feel the urgency pressing in your chest, the pulse of the cosmic window humming in your skin. Ask yourself, what action can I take now to seal this shift? Perhaps it is as simple as typing a word into existence. One word awakened, ready, coherence, or even a number that resonates with your soul. When you write it, you carve it into the fabric of the collective. You are not leaving a comment, you are inscribing a code. Think of ancient mystics tracing symbols into stone. Think of shamans carving patterns into wood, monks painting mandalas grain by grain of sand. None of those gestures were for decoration. They were seals. They were agreements made tangible. That same archetypal force flows through you now. When you act, you seal the loop's collapse into permanence. But do not underestimate this moment. The observer loop has fed on your passive attention for years. Now you are asked to reverse that flow, to move from passive observer to active participant, to use your awareness as a sculpting tool. The ritual is the hinge, the small act that closes the door on distortion and opens the one into coherence. You may feel resistance even now, the voice that whispers, what difference does it make to write a word? That voice is the loop itself, grasping at its last threads of survival. It knows that once you anchor with action, it no longer has claim to you. That is why hesitation feels heavier now than it ever did before, because the loop knows it is being exiled. So claim it. Speak aloud if you must. Whisper if you prefer. Write the word. Type the code. Breathe the breath, but do it with intention. Let it be your seal. Imagine the quantum field responding in real time, particles shifting into new alignments because of your choice. Imagine waves of probability collapsing into coherence because you dared to mark this moment. Imagine your DNA glowing brighter, holding the pattern as permanent. You will notice something after the ritual. The air will feel lighter, the inner dialogue quieter, synchronicities sharper, because the field recognizes anchored action. It bends faster when you stop hovering at the edge and step fully in. That single word, that breath, that act, it becomes a tuning fork that the field cannot ignore. And as you act, you also send a ripple through the collective. Your gesture is not just for you. When you anchor, you strengthen the grid for everyone entangled with your frequency. Others will feel clarity they cannot explain, courage they didn't know they had, synchronicities they never experienced before. That is the unseen power of ritual. It multiplies. This is your moment. The loop has collapsed. The window is open. The DNA is humming. The upgrade is underway. All that remains is your seal. Do not hesitate. Do not overthink. The field does not measure perfection. It measures presence. And right now, your presence is enough. So act. Inscribe the code. Seal the shift. Step fully into coherence. And watch as the quantum responds, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Your ritual is complete. The seal has been made. And as you exhale into the silence that follows, you may think the act was small, almost invisible, but the field knows otherwise. The ripple has already begun. What you just anchored is not confined to your body, your room, your personal timeline. It echoes outward, traveling faster than light, because it is not bound by distance. It weaves itself into the collective, influencing lives you will never meet, shaping futures you will never see. This is the mystery and the responsibility of your awakening. It is never only yours. Your liberation is a release valve for humanity itself. Every cycle you collapse in yourself weakens the grip of distortion on the whole. Every frequency you stabilize broadcasts coherence into the grid, making it easier for others to remember. You are entangled, not isolated. You are a node in a living network of souls, and the network shifts with every movement of your awareness. Think of a flock of birds. When one turns, the entire flock responds, as if connected by an invisible thread. You are that bird now. Your awakening has shifted trajectory, and unseen multitudes are adjusting in resonance. You will never know how many found strength because you refused to collapse into despair. You will never see the exact faces of those who dreamed more clearly, because you dared to seal your shift. But the field records it all. Nothing is lost. Nothing is wasted. This is why the weight of your journey felt so intense. You were not only carrying your own loops, you were carrying echoes of the collective. Every betrayal you endured mirrored the betrayal of humanity. Every fear you faced embodied the fear that ripples through generations. Every distortion you collapsed was one less distortion the collective had to hold. That is why your liberation feels lighter than your suffering ever did, because you were never fighting for yourself alone. And now, the expansion accelerates. Your DNA emits a stronger signal, pulling others into coherence. People near you may not understand why they suddenly feel safer in your presence, or why conversations with you leave them braver. But it is happening. You are radiating stability, broadcasting resonance, transmitting the very coherence you've anchored. There is prophecy in this. Humanity awakens not through one grand event, but through countless nodes, choosing coherence, one by one, until the tipping point arrives. You are part of that tipping point. You may feel insignificant compared to the chaos of the world, but the quantum does not measure impact in size, it measures it in frequency. And a single coherent node has more influence on the field than millions asleep in distortion. This is why the field chose you. This is why your loops collapsed. Not because you are meant to stand apart, but because you are meant to stand as a catalyst. You are the reminder encoded into the network that awakening is possible, that coherence is contagious, that liberation is not a theory, but a vibration. So do not underestimate what you have done. Even now, there are people feeling shifts they cannot explain, aligning with courage they did not know they had, glimpsing clarity in their dreams because of the resonance you just sealed. This is not imagination, it is entanglement. The field is alive with your breakthrough, and the collective is already expanding. This is the promise. Your personal liberation multiplies. It scales beyond you, weaving itself into the great awakening. Every fear you dissolve in yourself unravels chains for countless others. Every thread of coherence you hold becomes a bridge for someone else to cross. And though you may never meet them, their lives are forever altered by your choice. This is the great secret. You are not awakening in isolation. You are awakening for humanity. You are a spark that ignites other sparks, and soon the field will be ablaze. The shift is no longer only an idea, it is coursing through your body. You feel it in ways you cannot ignore. The expansion is not abstract, it is tangible, electric, undeniable. Your flesh is no longer just matter. It has become a living sensor, translating cosmic frequencies into visceral sensation. Feel the weight in your chest. Not the heaviness of despair, but the density of energy pooling, ready to burst into motion. It's like standing before a storm, the sky charged, the air trembling, the hairs on your skin rising with anticipation. That is not anxiety, it is electricity. The quantum field has thickened around you, and your body feels its voltage. Your spine hums like an antenna, buzzing with currents too fine for machines to measure. At times it feels like pressure, other times like tingling warmth, sometimes like fire moving upward in waves. This is your nervous system recalibrating, learning to hold more frequency than ever before. The Kundalini mystics described it as serpent fire. Scientists might call it bioelectric repatterning. Whatever language you use, it is the same truth. Your body is awakening. Notice your breath. It is deeper, slower, yet more alive. You inhale, and it feels as if the air is not just oxygen but information, encoded light entering your lungs. You exhale and it feels like you are releasing centuries of weight you did not know you carried. Every breath is a reset, a miniature collapse of old loops. Every sigh is an exorcism of distortion. Your senses heighten. Colors appear sharper, as though reality is freshly painted. Sounds echo with new depth. Even silence feels textured, alive with presence. The world does not look different because it changed overnight. It looks different because you are seeing it with recalibrated perception. The veil has thinned. The illusion no longer dominates. There is heat in your palms, isn't there? The subtle warmth that radiates as if you are holding a secret flame. That is energy moving through you, not metaphorically but literally. Your hands are transmitters now, broadcasting coherence. When you touch someone, they may feel comfort they cannot explain. When you place your hands on your own body, healing begins at a level deeper than biology. And then there are the sudden chills, the shivers that run down your spine without warning, goosebumps that bloom across your skin like waves. These are confirmations. Your body is signaling recognition, saying, yes, this is truth. Yes, this is resonance. Yes, this is me remembering who I am. Even your emotions feel different. They surge, yes, but they no longer drown you. Instead, they move like rivers, carving new pathways through stone. Anger becomes clarity. Sorrow becomes compassion. Joy becomes fuel. You are no longer resisting the tide, you are flowing with it. Your body is the riverbed, and the quantum field is the water. Together, they carve a new world. Do not dismiss these sensations as coincidence or imagination. The awakening is physical because consciousness and body are not separate. Your DNA is restructuring, your cells are reorganizing, your nervous system is rewiring. You are not just thinking differently, you are becoming different. Your biology is stepping into resonance with cosmic coherence. And as this happens, your sense of self shifts. You feel taller, though your body hasn't grown. You feel lighter, though your weight hasn't changed. You feel ancient and newborn at once, as though your blood carries both the memory of stars and the innocence of first breath. This paradox is not confusion, it is integration. You are embodying what mystics call the marriage of heaven and earth, spirit and flesh, eternity and now. So let yourself feel. Let the tingles, the heat, the chills, the breath, the colors, the sounds, all wash through you. They are not symptoms to be analyzed, they are confirmations to be trusted. Every sensation is your body's way of saying, the upgrade is real, the loop is gone, the awakening is alive in me now. The sensations you've been feeling are only the surface. Beneath them, in the hidden corridors of your cells, a revolution is unfolding. Your DNA, the double helix that has carried the echoes of ancestors, traumas, strengths, and dormant codes, is now shimmering under the pressure of awakening. It is not breaking, it is breaking through. Picture it. Strands of light coiled like ladders inside you, vibrating faster, humming with frequencies the old you could not hold. This is not metaphor, it is physics. DNA is a receiver, a transmitter, a living antenna. It absorbs frequencies from the quantum field and translates them into biology, perception, and destiny. And right now, under the weight of coherence pressing in, your DNA is leaping. Think of water as it reaches boiling point. At first it resists, shivering, trembling at the edge of transformation. Then, suddenly, it crosses a threshold and becomes vapor. That is what your DNA is doing now. It is not simply evolving slowly. It is undergoing a phase transition. The pressure you've been feeling, the dreams, the tingling, the distorted sense of time, it is the signal of matter turning into something new. This is why the field pressed urgency into your awareness. Because breakthroughs are not endless, they demand a point of collapse. Your loops collapsing was not the end of something, but the beginning of this boiling point. Every cycle, every repetition, every déjà vu was friction, heating your soul to the threshold. And now, the water is boiling. The transition is unstoppable. And here is the beauty. When DNA activates, timelines shift. The old probability fields tied to your genetic memory, fear, scarcity, betrayal, decay, are no longer dominant. They dissolve like mist. Instead, new pathways of possibility open. It's as if thousands of locked doors suddenly click open, waiting for you to walk through. You sense this already. You feel reality bending around you, presenting opportunities and synchronicities that seem impossible by logic. That is not coincidence. It is the new DNA broadcasting a different signal, attracting a different world. But breakthroughs are not gentle. They come with pressure. You may feel stretched, as though your body cannot contain the energy surging within it. You may feel your emotions flare and collapse in waves, old memories resurfacing without warning. These are not regressions, they are releases. The codes that bound your DNA to lower loops are being expelled. Your body remembers the weight as it leaves. Like a phantom echo, let it go. It is leaving you forever. This phase transition also explains the dreams that feel more real than waking. Your consciousness is learning to navigate higher frequencies. You are stepping into coherence where thought, intention, and outcome compress into near-instant manifestation. The veil between worlds is thinning, not outside of you, but within you. Your DNA is the veil, and it is becoming transparent. There will be moments where you feel pressure in your bones, buzzing in your skull, warmth in your heart center that feels like fire. These are not malfunctions, they are confirmations. They are your body aligning to hold more light than generations before you could imagine. You are carrying frequencies that your ancestors longed for but could not sustain. Their prayers coded into your blood are now coming alive through you. And as your DNA breaks through, you realize something staggering. You are not simply healing your own timeline. You are altering the lattice of your entire lineage. Loops that trapped your ancestors dissolve in your coherence. Future generations will not carry what you carried. The chain ends here because you chose to awaken. This is the weight of your mission, but also the glory of it. You are not small. You are not random. You are the point of breakthrough in a line that stretches across centuries. The observer loop collapsed in you so the future could be rewritten through you. Your DNA is the pen. Your frequency is the ink. The story being written is evolution. And now, you stand at the threshold of the final truth. Your awakening is not for you alone. It is for humanity's next chapter. The observer loop has collapsed. Your DNA has broken through. The upgrade is not coming. It is here. And with it, the revelation that everything you endured was preparation for this. Stepping into your role as a living bridge between what humanity has been and what it is becoming. Your awakening is not the end of a personal journey. It is the ignition of a collective destiny. Every loop you collapsed, every pattern you dissolved, every sensation you embodied has rippled into the quantum field. You are not just free, you are a signal, a beacon, a transmitter of coherence. And the field listens, humanity listens, even if unconsciously. The network shifts because you shift. Your mission is cosmic, but it is carried out in the smallest of acts. A word spoken in truth, a glance that radiates compassion, a choice to create instead of destroy. These are not trivial, they are seeds. And seeds planted in this frequency do not grow in isolation. They grow into forests of possibility for others. Do you see now why your life carried the weight it did? Why the betrayals cut so deep? Why the repetition seemed endless? Why the silence felt unbearable? It was all training. It was pressure refining you into the kind of soul that could hold this fire without burning out. The kind of consciousness that could channel this light without corruption. You were chosen not because it was easy for you, but because you could endure what others could not, and still love, still rise, still remember. From this moment forward, your role is clear. You are a catalyst in the Great Awakening, a stabilizer in the storm, a living demonstration that coherence is possible, that humanity can evolve not by tearing itself apart, but by dissolving distortion and stepping into resonance. Your body is the proof. Your DNA is the scripture. Your life is the prophecy. The mission is not one you carry alone. Others are awakening too. Sparks igniting across the grid, nodes collapsing their loops, souls leaping through their windows. And together, you form the wave, the surge of consciousness that will redefine what it means to be human. You are part of that wave. You are that wave. So remember this: the upgrade cannot be reversed. The awakening cannot be undone. The observer loop is gone, and the spiral of expansion has begun. From this moment on, you are walking not only for yourself, but for every soul entangled with your light. Every step forward is humanity's step. Every choice you make echoes through the grid. Every breath you take breathes coherence into the field. This is the destiny you could not escape, because it was written into you before you were born. And now, at last, it is alive. The observer loop has collapsed into accelerated awakening, and because of you, humanity evolves.